I don't know.
Like it could
My
mean
brain
like,
isn't quite awake yet. So.
oh yeah, mine either. That's why I'm talking about copyright enthusiasts. I never talk about this. I must have dreamed about copywriting stuff or something. Because I'm still, I think I'm still in the dream state, honestly, Eric.
Yeah, me too. What are we going to do about that?
Well, I don't know. Let's have a dream episode.
Okay.
All right. So I didn't have a dream last night. Did you?
Jeez, I don't remember. I don't know.
Well, that concludes our dream episode. Something to talk about.
Hey, all right.
Greetings, citizens of Earth. Welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I'm Dan.
And I'm Erik.
And the thing that I have to talk about, now this is old news, but I wanted to touch upon this because I know there were a couple of weeks where we were out of commission. And this is old news. This is about over a month old now, but I wanted to get your take on this. So just so everyone knows, yes, we're talking about something that's old here. You heard about Billy Corgan talking about Kurt Cobain's death. Did you not?
Wanna go for
No, I did not.
So he made this. There's this quote. He made this quote. Like he just draws.
Is there anything he can't do?
Yeah. Is there anything he can't do? He was being interviewed by someone, and he said that he cried because he lost his greatest opponent when Kurt Cobain died. And he said that Kurt had so much talent, it's like frightening. And a lot of people got mad about that because what it sounds like he's more concerned about the fact that somebody was perhaps more talented than him. And so it kind of, a lot of people were like, oh, Billy Corgan's just jealous or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't really see it necessarily that way. I think he's just kind of acknowledging the fact that Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins are perhaps, I mean, I've always said, me personally, that I think if you're talking about cultural impact, so we're talking about mainstream commercial appeal. We're not talking about personal, like if I said my most important album from the 90s, I'd probably put like a Fugazi record up there or something, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's a personal opinion, but if you're talking just Nirvana's Nevermind is basically, I think, universally, for the most part, probably the most influential 90s record out there, Mm-hmm. And then I always said that I think number 2 is either Melancholy or Siamese Dream. I would say Smashing Pumpkins would be number 2. But anyway, I just wanted to get your take on that because I thought that was interesting. A lot of people, Billy Corgan does get a bad rap, and I think oftentimes there's a reason for that. And so I don't know. What do you think? Does that sound like Billy Corgan being a bitch?
Well, jeez, whoa.
Yeah, I know. I went there.
There at the end.
I went there.
Well, everyone knows that Moist Boys 2 was the best album of the
Oh
90s,
my gosh! Wow, that is definitely up there. Moist Boys.
I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily think Kurt Cobain is more talented than Billy Corgan.
No, I agree. I agree.
I think Kurt Cobain was cuter.
Well, yeah, he was definitely more attractive. Yeah.
I can see why people would be mad that he was talking about someone's death and then made it all about him.
Sure.
That's not the coolest thing someone could do. I don't know. I mean, I love Nirvana, and like Kurt Cobain seemed. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. No more malarkey. I don't know. I don't think he seemed like a cool guy. I just got to be honest. I've watched
Billy Corgan or Kurt Cobain?
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of interviews. I've seen him interact with his bandmates, and he just seemed kind of aloof and cocky, and I don't know, like he used emotional shortcomings as excuses to get out of, I don't know, being a good person. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm breaking all the rules. I'm not supposed to talk about Kurt Cobain, but he never really seemed interested in discussing his craft or what he did or things that, I don't know, like he just didn't seem as in touch with who he was. It was kind of like a character. And I'm not saying Billy Corgan hasn't played a character in the past, but I'm just saying I get the sense that Billy Corgan is a musician who worked hard and developed his craft and never stopped doing that and didn't rely on, the kind of cult of personality maybe that Kurt did because he couldn't. I don't think people liked Billy Corgan in the same way. I don't think they wanted to associate themselves with him or dress like him or, I know that all sounds terrible, but anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is I can see how Billy Corgan could view Kurt Cobain as a rival of sorts, and not just record sales and not just that style of music or whatever, but just as a creative force. Like, I don't know who else was at their caliber at that time,
Green Day. I think number 3, hands down, would be Dookie. You know what I mean? I think Billy Corgan unapologetically wanted to be a rock star.
Oh, for sure.
Kurt Cobain apologetically wanted to be a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the old reluctant messiah, that guy.
Yeah, the old reluctant messiah, which also brings another point to the table, which is it's so weird how we do idolize death in famous individuals, and how in rap music, if most rappers are being interviewed and they're asked their top 5 favorite rappers, always has to be Tupac and Biggie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It always has to be, like, you have to put those in your top 5 or else you are just completely scrutinized for it. And I just think that that's kind of ridiculous. I'm not saying that Tupac and Biggie were not talented rappers, but I don't think that they are the be all end all of the genre. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going off on a tangent here, Eric.
I mean, the Fresh Smith is obviously the best one.
The Fresh Smith?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I like that. The Fresh Smith.
Yeah, Will Prince, you know him.
Yeah, Will Prince. Dude, is there anybody well, check this out. William Oldham, Bonnie Prince Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Will Prince. Why doesn't he go by Will Prince sometimes?
I don't know. He blew it.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Probably doesn't want to get mixed up with the Fresh Smith.
The Fresh Smith. Dude, he could have so many more aliases. So I wonder if Bonnie Prince Billy was influenced by his name Will Oldham, which was influenced by Will Smith, which is influenced by the Fresh Prince. We're going down a rabbit hole here,
Wow. We're going down a Will Holman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Have you ever seen the video of Montel Jordan's "This Is How We Do It"?
I'm not sure, actually.
This is how we do it.
This is how we do it.
Anyway, you ever seen the? Did they add in? Was that the uncensored version?
I don't know. That's how I've been singing it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it, fuckers.
Did you? Have you ever seen? That's good.
Fuckers
That's
is
great.
Such a Muscatine term. Like,
It
come
is.
on, man. Who says that? All right, you fuckers.
Come on,
No one
fuckers.
says that.
Anyway, there's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That links Montel Jordan, "This Is How We Do It," to ISIS. And how they do it is they show the lyrics of "This is how we do it," and then it puts together the "is" at the end of this, and then "is" together, and it's like, does Montel Jordan know something we don't? But the sound that it makes when it pauses, "this is like the Law and Order. Like, are you still there, Eric? It sounds like you left.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fell asleep.
That's funny.
No, I was muted.
Yeah, that's what it showed on the screen.
Sorry about that.
Did I cross a line?
I was looking at Will Oldham. I was looking at a picture of him. And then I was thinking about, because he looks kind of like, let's see, the dude from Rock and Roll High School.
I couldn't even tell you.
Rock and Roll High School?
I saw it a long time ago. I just remember, does he look like Joey Ramone?
No, he looks like Paul Bartel is his name. Oh my God, they're like twins.
Paul Bartel?
Yeah, Paul Bartel.
Okay, hold on a second.
I think he might be like the drama teacher or something. Yeah, but no, he looks just like Will Oldham.
Paul Bartel. Let's see. How do you? Oh, yeah, he does kind of look like him. I can see that. Yeah, in that movie. Yeah, okay, he kind of looks like him. Yeah. You know who I always thought he looked like?
No, who?
I always thought he kind of looked like MJ Dunlap from our high school.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah, you know him. You know MJ, don't you?
Yeah, I can see that.
He's a listener of our show, I believe, or was.
Yeah, probably not now.
Maybe. He's just like, I'm not
telling him he looks like Will Oldham.
Yeah. Bonnie Prince MJ.
Yeah. By the way, you should never tell anyone to look like anyone else.
That's true.
It's never good. People always used to say, well, you look like Stephen King. I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to react to that, dude?
They said you look like Stephen King?
Yeah.
Really?
People, multiple.
Huh.
Endless.
They said you look like Stephen King.
Yeah. That's just like, whatever, dick. You look like a dick.
Was it really that much of an insult?
I mean, have you seen him?
Yeah, you're definitely a lot better looking.
Bad. Oh, thanks, Dan. Man,
no, I definitely do think that. I really do think that. I do think you're better looking than Stephen King.
And he can take that to the bank.
See, people used to tell me that I look like Billy Corgan. And then because I had a Zero shirt. I was a Zero. Actually, I never owned a Zero shirt, but I do think the Zero shirt was a conspiracy. I think that he was predicting the future of cola drinks.
Oh wow!
Zero sugar and all that stuff. That's what I think he was doing. That was his agenda. Billy Corgan is responsible for the diet soft drink industry past 1995. There's the diet soda industry before 1995 and after 1995. Billy Corgan is responsible for 95 onward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we figured that
Let's review some records. Yeah,
come on, everybody. It's record time.
So I am number one here. So
Numero
uno. The album that I picked is from the group Quasi. And it's called Breaking the Balls of History, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest titles I've ever heard. I think that's fantastic. So Quasi has been around for a while, and it is the duo of Sam Coombs, who is a multi-instrumentalist who has worked with Built to Spill, which everyone who has listened to this podcast has probably heard me talk about my love for that band. One of my favorites. And then Janet Weiss, who is the former drummer of Slater-Kinney, and who I think is a powerhouse drummer. And I honestly think that if you have not gone back and listened to about 2 or 3 Slater-Kinney records with her playing drums, then you should, and you would see why. I think she's just a fantastic drummer. Anyway, the thing I really like about this record is how fun it sounds. It sounds fun, but then I also kind of want to follow that up with, not only does it sound like they're having fun playing the music, but there also is kind of this somewhat impeding sense of doom in the subject matter, or maybe the content a little bit. Because the songs do thematically touch on some pretty dark subjects about politics and kind of the state of the world that we're living in. I think it's pretty reactive to a lot of the stuff that's going on. This record was recorded, I believe, during the pandemic, so it is a pandemic, or at least it was written during the pandemic. I'm not sure if it was actually recorded during then. So I mean, I think it's just a reflection of the a lot of the frustrations that were being felt during that time, which, I mean, there was a lot to be frustrated about around that time. But also, I just think the songs are just really, really good. The backbone of this group basically is, for the most part, Sam plays the keyboard, and then Janet plays the drums. And so it kind of has like that sort of, keyboard drum duo thing that's sort of become a really big thing fairly recently, I think, in the indie rock world. I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that Mates of State and Matt and Kim may have been influenced by this group. Maybe not. I don't know. They do, I think, do a little bit of a different take on it, but I also think, in my knowledge, they're kind of one of the earliest bands to sort of do that aesthetic, because I believe they've been around since the mid 90s. I also think that while it does touch on some dark themes, there also is kind of a sense of hope as well. It's almost like, I don't know, the best way that I would describe it is it almost plays like an audio equivalent of like a dark comedy or something. I think the sounds are very interesting. There are times where I legitimately can't tell, and I think he means to do it this way, if he's playing a guitar or keyboard, because I feel like he kind of plays the keyboard as if it's a guitar. There's some really cool sounds, some really cool, like, I think a little bit of an experimentation with noise a little bit. So sometimes it kind of goes into like, it's not pure noise because there's still always a song structure underneath it. So, like little sparse indicators of noise, somewhere between like Fugazi and Unwound, maybe a little bit. And the voice really does remind me of sort of the quirkiness of like Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse, or Doug Marsh from Built to Spill. And I know that's kind of I don't know, I feel like maybe that's an obvious reference just because I just mentioned that Sam Coombs has worked with Built to Spill, but it really does give me that kind of a feeling, or, that kind of a vibe, I should say. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting record, and I think the songs are very good. And in my opinion, some of the best songs on here are Long Last Laugh and Rotten Rock. Nowheresville and Losers, which is the last track, is phenomenal. Basically, the stuff that this reminds me of is Built to Spill, Super Chunk, and that the group that we reviewed a while back called The Aquarium reminds me a lot of that. Kind of has that sort of feel to it, or even something like Modest Mouse. Yeah, I just think this is a really, really great indie rock record. And, if you're into any of the stuff that I mentioned, I think you'd dig it. What did you think, Erik?
Quasi, breaking the balls of history. I loved it. I really, really, really loved it. I thought it was super cool. It was super fun, really inventive, just kind of strange overall. Like, I guess indie rock is what that would sort of fit into. But yeah, it reminded me of stuff I used to listen to that was like really fun back when I liked fun music. But yeah, it's really silly at times, but also kind of dark. It's really simple a lot of times, but also really grand. Like it's not afraid to get sort of epic and a little theatrical, actually a lot theatrical. But yeah, it's super like goofy in its own way, but not in a bad way, but just in a like irreverent way. Overall, yeah, the vocals I thought sounded quite a bit like the singer from Tripping Daisy, who I didn't take the time to look up their name. And every once in a while, the drummer will join in and do sort of a harmonized vocal. And at those times, it sounds a lot like Timbuk 3, which is a band I think is really cool, at least conceptually, and a lot of times sound-wise, but they don't get a lot of credit because they're also pretty goofy. But yeah, great songs, really smart arrangements, really fun instrumentation. Yeah, the theatrical element of it, it really works its way into almost everything that happens on the album. I just loved it. It was one of my favorite things I've heard this year, actually. I mean, it took me back to a time, like I said, when I really enjoyed super fun, slightly goofy, irreverent, energetic music. So yeah, I don't know what else to add to it other than, it's one of my favorite things I've heard this year. I can't really say much more than that. Things that it reminded me of, though, this is a weird one, but also one of my favorite groups. The Presidents of the United States of America, especially the second record, 2, it's called, fittingly. And so it's kind of along those lines. If you listen to that, you can hear some of those elements in there. They're not afraid of really kind of like grandiose subject matters or just completely inane, silly subject matters. The music's kind of similar and it's rock based, but goes wherever it wants. Other things, like I already said, Tripping Daisy, and not just vocally, also in the music with that sort of penchant for going kind of theatrical and harder and epic than maybe the songs even call for. Flaming Lips, Devo, Ben Folds, as far as like the song writing, I think there's some similarities there where the irreverence is sort of the core of the songs. Of Montreal, as far as some of the sonic territory they cover. And then as far as approach and even some of the sounds, I also heard some raining sound in there. So those are all really awesome things. And I heard all of those in this record. And I just now kind of looked through their back catalog and I realized I have a lot to catch up on. So this is, I don't even know how many records they have. It looks like, I don't know, 100 maybe. But no, quite a few. And so that's exciting. I should also point out that Janet Weiss is one of the main characters in Rocky Horror Picture Show. So anyway, different Janet Weiss.
Yeah.
But no, I loved it. I really loved it. And I have a lot to listen to. So yeah, good pick. All right. So my pick is the C.I.A. The record is called Surgery Channel, and I'm pretty sure it came out this year. So I've been listening to this record for a little while now, and I finally decided to just talk about it since I feel I already put my time in listening. Yeah, the C.I.A. They're from L.A., which I've always considered sort of cheating. L.A. or New York. It's kind of like, yeah, but could you make it in Iowa? Anyway,
come give it a try, yeah. Fucker.
They had a leg up anyway because Ty Segall is in this group.
So it's double cheating.
Yeah, and Danae Segall is the singer, and then another member called Emmett Kelly, who is a famous clown but I don't think this is that Emmett Kelly. Anyway, this is what is this? It's really eclectic, electronic rock. Definitely rock. Yeah. Sometimes it's really fun. Sometimes it's pretty dark. It's very extremely angular. Like, I don't know if there's another word that could describe it, honestly. It's also noisy and fuzzy, but not really like Ty Segall psychedelic type noisy and fuzzy. This is like clipping diode fuzz. It's like really mechanical fuzz. And it's overall very like frantic feeling, very out of control. The vocals cover all kinds of styles, I think. Like some of it's shouted, some of it's like kind of cool and laid back. Some of it's like cutesy, which I don't really enjoy that kind of singing very much, but that's okay. And then sometimes Danae gets into like guttural, like grunge singing. And I don't know a lot about the kind of like female fronted grunge bands as much as Dan might, but I definitely know that it sounds like someone I've heard. Basically, the music's for the most part made up of electronic or highly affected drums, highly produced drums, gated, I don't know. But I kind of think they're electronic. And then a lot of times it's a drum machine, I think, too, or programmed at least, or maybe a combination. The rhythms are super straight. Not to say they're simple, but there's not a lot of polyrhythms and other things explored. Yeah, really splattery sort of synth bass is what most of the songs have. And then like highly fuzzy guitars over the top, like Jack White level fuzzy guitars. But yeah, so overall, I kind of find it hard to pinpoint exactly what this is. It's like early electronic music, like really early, like the kind of proto new wave kind of stuff, like The Normal, who only has a couple songs, but their song Warm Leatherette is like super important to that kind of music, and it very much is like what this is. But yeah, overall, I found it super fun. Like I said, every once in a while the vocals get into this kind of cutesy place that, I don't know, doesn't really do it for me. But yeah, otherwise it's like really rock oriented. The guitars are like lots of guitar solos and really rock playing type guitar solos. Not quite into like hair metal or something, but very stylized rock guitar. Yeah, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's early kind of electronic synth music, but with a rock edge to it. Things that it reminded me of, Daisy Chainsaw, as far as vocally and approach, sort of. Trans Am, definitely. I mean, with the synths and how they approach using the synthesizers, which is basically just to hold down the bottom end and provide sort of a scaffolding sort of for the rest of the music. There's not a lot of synth leads. I don't know. It's not like a synth record. It just has a synth on it. A weird one that came to mind was Queens of the Stone Age, which if you listen to this, you're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? But sort of just like how stripped down it is, and sort of the approach as far as melody goes, and how the guitars are approached, which is overwhelmingly fuzzy and in your face, to the point that, I mean, it like clips out, you know, like it's almost glitchy in how fuzzy it is. As far as like the programming or electronic drums or the drums or whatever, and sort of the song structures, Romeo Void came to mind. And like I said already, The Normal, kind of a mixed bag of what probably influenced all this, but what comes out is a very sort of stripped down, succinct musical idea. And I think it's pretty fun to listen to, although it does get pretty dark sometimes too. So, but yeah, I think we're sort of on a fun kick this week, apparently. And this fits in just fine. So what'd you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think this album was a blast to listen to for sure. So it's funny because I actually texted Eric after he sent me this pick, and this was actually possibly going to be my pick as well. So
Nice.
I got super excited when I saw that you picked this because I also have been listening to this pretty much since the beginning of the year. So it's been a couple of months. So this has been, or a few months, I guess. I can't remember when this came out. And I randomly discovered this by looking up new releases coming out in 2023. And the C.I.A., that name just caught my attention. And little did I know that it was another C.I.A. project. Here's what's interesting, Eric, is if now I could be wrong, but I thought I read somewhere that C.I.A. is actually playing bass and that there's actually no guitar, that I think it's two basses that are making the noise. I believe so. I believe Ty Segall and the Emmett Kelly, I believe they're playing bass. And so
wow,
I could be wrong, but I do believe that I read that somewhere.
Well, that could explain the guitar tone.
Absolutely, because it's really, really heavy. Like really, especially for Ty Segall. Like this is so anyone who's familiar with Ty Segall, he's got 1,000,001 albums. He's got 1,000,001 musical projects. He's in another band called Fuzz. He puts out several. I mean, he's one of these, like, you know, one of these artists that puts out several records a year, it seems like. Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on. This is kind of a step outside of the typical. I don't want to. Typical is not really a good way to put it, but you know, the usual Ty Segall musical landscape, I guess. Like I kind of was surprised by this, but at the same time, a lot of his more recent solo albums have been incorporating synths a lot more. So he's kind of been interested in, I think, something in this direction for quite some time. Yeah, the best way that I can describe this, I mean, I think you said it all, Eric. It's, to me, this is like electronic garage punk rock. So it really kind of just sounds like sort of like an electronic version of what you'd hear from some of those recent Ty Segall records. But also, I think that there's something more going on here because I do think it's got to me anyway, it's got a pretty heavy industrial sort of feel to it. And a lot of that is just the feeling of the drums. Like you said, the vocals are very sporadic. They kind of go a lot of different places. Sometimes she does this spoken word kind of thing that, you know, where she's sort of doing this yelling. Sometimes she does this, she does kind of sing, which, you know, as you mentioned, maybe harkens back to some of the 90s female fronted grunge bands. But yeah, for the most part, I would call this straightforward electro punk. Yeah, I think it makes sense that Ty Segall is involved in something like this too, because one of the things about Ty Segall is he came from sort of the, I hate using garage rock revival underground thing, but that's kind of the same place that like Jay Reatard was coming from, you know, like that sort of scene of like the early like Burger Records and In the Red Records and stuff like that. The Oblivions comes to mind, you know, early Black Lips and stuff like that. That's kind of where Ty Segall came from, and that's what a lot of his early stuff sounded like. But he's definitely been venturing towards, I think, a lot more different sounds and has been really experimenting with sort of analog and probably digital electronics as well. I'm assuming that a lot of this was digital synthesizers, but I also think there's probably some analog stuff going on here as well, like the drum programming. But he's always shown an interest in synthesizers. So I think it's really, it makes sense that he's involved in something like this. I think the parts 1 and 2 of the title track Surgery Channel are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably hands down my two favorite things on this record. Now, as far as the stuff that this reminded me of, well, I'm going to say Ty Segall because, like I said, some of his more recent solo records have kind of veered in a direction somewhat like this. But I'm going to say Trans Am, as you mentioned. I would say some of the drum programming reminds me of Big Black.
Yeah.
I don't think the music itself necessarily reminds me of Big Black. I think it's a little more straightforward than they were, but I definitely see the angular aspect of it. I would also say Men's Recovery Project.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would also say there's a huge element of like X-ray specs, especially in the vocals. Mm-hmm. I also think her voice when she was doing the screaming guttural stuff, it really reminded me of Babes in Toyland.
Yeah.
A lot in 7 Year Bitch.
Yeah.
There also was sort of this Blondie element to it as well. Sometimes her vocals reminded me of Debbie Harry a little bit. And that's what I think was also added to the sort of the fun aspect of this, is that I think that her vocal range made it a very interesting listen. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, I think the music was very straightforward, and you did get a lot of like noise. You did get a lot of, angular guitar parts, but some of it was very repetitive, almost like, and not in a bad way, but almost like in a krautrock way. You know what I mean? Sort of.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not krautrock, but her vocals added like almost like it was almost like she was doing like notes over the music with her voice, if that makes any sense. And I think that's, I think that was awesome. Yeah. I think it added like a whole other like instrument sort of, if that makes any sense. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was great. This is, and also, I mean, I think if you're into like Nine Inch Nails and Kill Alters and stuff like that, some of the industrial stuff, I think that this would probably have your back as well.
Yeah. So, nice.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So the local pick this week,
keep it local,
is from Greg Wheeler and the Poly Mall Cops, and they're from Des Moines. The name of the record is Manic Fever, and I didn't realize that it actually, Poly Mall is like polygamist mall cops. Mm-hmm. So I always kind of wondered what the Poly Mall Cops was, because I've heard of this band, but I never really, looked into them until we decided to review this. So the band is consisting of Greg Wheeler, Jill McLean Meiser, I think, and a guy named Hutch. In my estimation, this is really manic, in a very good way, high energy, garage punk, and it has a slight psychedelic edge. The songs are generally really fast and straight to the point, sick guitar tones and effects. I mean, the bass is very present, plays the rhythm very well, and the drums are just awesome. There's almost like this shuffle element to some of it that I think is very cool. Kind of like a choppy element too, which I think adds to like the intensity of it. I think it's very tight and well written, well performed. Greg has a very slight quirkiness to his voice, and it has sort of this, I hope this doesn't sound bad, but I think this is a good thing. So I mean it as a compliment, but it has this nasally quality to it that just adds to the music, if that makes any sense. And it kind of reminds me of Jay Reatard. And I think that, this record kind of reaches levels of intensity and also beauty that a lot of his records did back in the day. But I think that this record is just really fun and, really intense. Like I said, there's no messing around. The songs are just straight to the point, generally very short. And it's fantastic. I love the song Nothing. The title track is awesome. Itch, but I mean, the whole damn thing is fantastic. Stuff that it reminds me of, well, Jay Reatard and Ty Segall a little bit, but also I hear a little bit of Os Mutantes, which that's not to be confused with Os Mutantes. It's Os Mutants, I believe it's pronounced, and they're this Australian punk rock band. And it's spelled AUSMUTEANTS, just to clarify. This sounds a lot like that. Why Bother? You remember Why Bother, Eric, and how cool that group was? Fantastic stuff. But also, there's sort of a pop punk side to this thing in my mind as well. So I'm hearing a little bit of like Green Day or Mr. T Experience, or maybe even something like the Hives, which I mean, I guess the Hives is not really pop punk. They're kind of more of a garage punk type thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's totally what this stuff reminds me of. I think it's got like I said, some really cool effects. The songs are great. And I bet this band is a blast to see live. Mm-hmm. What'd you think, Eric?
Yeah, I loved this too. Like it was a good week for fun music, which I think that our show, we kind of go in waves. I think sometimes it's like, oh, we listen to his doom metal,
yeah.
But it's like after a couple of weeks of that, it's like we need a break, and so I think this week altogether is like just about fun. So if you want to have fun, need some new summer records, these are some pretty good options. But yeah, Greg Wheeler and the Poly Mall Cops. I always thought poly meant polyamorous. So who knows, I guess. Unless they said it was polygamist.
Yeah, well, that's what I read.
Oh, okay.
All right. That's actually what I read. Is I'll double check that to make sure. But
I was just telling you what I figured. But,
and that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I don't know. I'll double check it, but anyway.
Well, it means they're sleeping with multiple people, regardless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it is. It's Greg Wheeler and the Polygamist Mall Cops.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. Right
yeah, like Dan said, I don't know if he used this word specifically, but panicky is what I came up with.
There you go.
My main descriptor. Panicky, surfy, garage, psych punk. Yeah, that's what I'd call it. Super energetic, noisy, but controlled. I mean, it's not noise music. It's not harsh noise. It's noise within the confines of songs, and really cool songs at that. Has a strange vibe to it. Like there's a strangeness to the whole thing. There's a sort of sleaziness to the whole thing too. I think it's just the way things move. They're just kind of slinky. I don't know how else to describe that. But yeah, it's like really just super fun. Yeah, garage kind of. Well, I already said all that. Psych punk. But yeah, really cool guitar effects. The playing itself is really wild on the guitars, especially. It's like it feels really precarious. Like it feels like they're gonna wipe out in any second, and not because of any shortcomings in their playing, just because the songs are so exacting yet super fast and also just wild. I mean, the playing is pretty wild. But yeah, the bass and drums keep it really solid and moving and energetic. Yeah, like Dan said, vocals are pretty similar to Jay Retard. Sometimes gets into the sort of effects and delay elements of the OCs. But yeah, this is pretty straightforward stuff as far as this kind of music, but I don't want that to sound like it's not exciting or interesting or different. It absolutely is. But I think if you like this kind of music, this is perfect and you're going to love it. And like Dan said, I have not seen them play, and I would love to. I bet it's super fun. It also looked like maybe the Poly Mall Cops have been numerous different people over time. So I don't know if Greg Wheeler is the is the constant member. So that's interesting too. Things that reminded me of Jay Retard, the OCs, King Kong, the barbecue show, a little bit, TV Repairman, and maybe like the Australian psych stuff, like Satanic Togas or whatever, or what was that other one we checked out? Cherry Cheeks.
Cherry Cheeks, yep.
Yeah. So stuff like that, and it does it really well. I think what this brings to the table that maybe the other stuff doesn't is that sense of wildness. It really feels like pretty out of control. It feels like someone captured a wild animal. I don't know how else to say it. It's like someone hit record and it's like a field recording of an out of control musical situation. I don't know how else to say it, but super fun. And yeah, I loved it and I can't wait to see him play. So
fantastic stuff, man. I go out there and catch a show if you can. And I know they've been touring and they've been working pretty hard because I see their name constantly. And so, there's a lot of really hardworking bands from Iowa these days, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty amazing, to see that stuff, happening, because I've been seeing I know Death Kill Overdrive, they've been on the road. Basketball Divorce Court, I've been seeing them all over the place. I've been seeing, Greg Wheeler and the Polymall Cops. Moscow Puzzles are getting out there, man.
Nice.
Haploid has been playing a lot lately.
Yeah.
I guess I just saw where Haploid's going to be coming out with a new record. They're recording a new record.
Nice.
And so, yeah, man. And I see that Closet Witch is recording. Cool. So they're going to be coming out with they still haven't released their second record yet. We'll see what goes on there. Did you see that Molly busted her eye at a show?
I saw the eye patch. Yeah. And I think I saw a picture the other day of her bloody eye.
Yep.
Well, they're pretty out of control on stage. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised it took this long to receive a serious injury.
To receive any kind of injury. Yeah. It's, man, I'll tell you what, Closet Witch is a live experience to not fuck with. That's for sure. God, it's been so long since I've been to a show, though. Yeah. Anyway, I keep saying that, but it's irrelevant. I'm a boomer.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Boomer.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Boomer take.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
I feel like I brought a very low, sort of tired energy to this episode.
I don't think so.
I feel really bad. I did fall asleep at one point.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's not you. It's me.
Well,
it's the clock. It's the dang clock.
Yeah.
It doesn't work the way I want it to.
Yeah. You're doing some stuff later today, right?
Yeah, I'm going down to South Park. Gonna meet some friends of mine.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah. No, I'm going to Muscatine. Hooray!
Oh gosh, that's a visit. Hey, did you know that there's a popcorn place now?
No.
Pearl City Popcorn. Actually, it's been there for like 3 years now or something, but you can get ice cream there from Heinz ice cream or Haynes or whatever from Iowa City.
Oh, that's good stuff.
It's very good stuff. And yeah, they have like 6 flavors that they ship down, but then they also make a bunch of different popcorns. Good stuff.
Dang. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just going to visit my folks. Actually, my dad's having a poker game and they needed a sub, so that's what I'm doing.
Oh, where are you getting the subs from?
No, they needed a substitute. Oh my God, you got me. That's how tired I am. I'm just like, I guess Dan's dumb.
I was gonna say usually I'm the one that falls for it.
Yeah. I usually get you.
have you? I'm sure I've asked you this every episode, but have you watched Saturday Morning All-Star Hits on Netflix?
Nope.
Oh,
He did tell me to watch it though, and I didn't.
There's 6 episodes, but I got to tell you, man, the reason why I brought it up has to do with subs. Because anytime there's a problem in the show, like, I don't know, the world's going to end. They're like, what do we do about it? Subs. And then the world gets saved by the fact that this guy holds up a bag of subs.
That's why you're saved by the subs.
Saved by the subs.
Oh, man.
What did we learn today? I mean, we learned a lot about Billy Corgan.
Yeah, we learned that, I don't know, Billy Corgan is... What did we learn about Billy Corgan?
Wanna go for a ride?
The history of the diet soft drink industry post 1995.
Yeah.
Zero sugar that he was, he was predicting on his T-shirts.
Yeah. We learned that though I like their music, I personally don't think a lot of Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is going to get me in all kinds of trouble, but he just doesn't seem very nice, and I don't know why I have to act like he does, the way he is. I sort of
like, I do see where you're coming from. It did seem, I don't know if you've ever read Come As You Are, The Story of Nirvana by Michael Azarad. There was one time where I guess that he did sign on to get 90% of the royalties or something. But I think the record label probably talked him into it, because Kurt Cobain is the principal songwriter, so then Chris and Dave were kind of getting screwed, I guess. A little bit, but I don't know. I have heard that there were things that Kurt Cobain did that were less than desirable, but who knows? None of us really know what actually happened because none of us were actually there.
That's true. But I figure if people can blindly love him and think that he's a really nice, cool guy without actually knowing him, then I can think the opposite without actually knowing him.
No, absolutely. I mean,
we're both equally ill-informed. So
people, yeah, exactly, and people do that with Billy Corgan without really knowing the full story.
It's the opposite for him, though.
Well, everyone's always saying, I know one of the big things that people talk about is how supposedly on Siamese Dream, he insisted on playing all of the bass and guitar parts so that James Ehan Darcy didn't play on any of it.
Wow.
And you know what, though? Here's the thing. People seem to have a problem with that, but they don't seem to have a problem with now this is another connection to Kurt Cobain, but Dave Grohl did the same thing with The Color and the Shape by the Foo Fighters. William Goldsmith from Sunny Day Real Estate laid down drum parts, and then Dave Grohl went in and redid his parts and then kicked him out of the band through a phone call.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff. My point is right, wrong, or indifferent. That kind of stuff happens in the music industry all the time. It's not like it should be surprising that Billy Corgan, who obviously, regardless of what you think of him, he's a fantastic musician, fantastic guitar player, fantastic songwriter, I think even, but it's that kind of stuff happens. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but that stuff happens.
It's a business.
It's a business.
It's not like this is art or anything.
Yeah, exactly. There's no such thing as art. Did you know that?
No, I didn't realize.
I found that out. There's no such thing as art. It doesn't exist. It's a societal myth.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. So, I mean, you got nothing to lose. It doesn't even exist. Go out there and create whatever you want.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, it's not even real.
It's not real. We live in a simulation. And that's it. That's the end of the day.
All right. I guess that's what we learned.
That's what we learned.
Art is a myth.
Art doesn't exist. That's what we learned.
And I guess that's it.
It's all about business.
Give
Get
them
out
the
there
business.
Give you the business.
and get your monies.
Yeah. Go watch Wall Street.
Or the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, or maybe Glenn Ross. Go out there and close some deals.
Yeah.
Give the world the business.
Yeah. Give them the business.
Yep.
The big business.
The big business.
Big business. Okay, well,
right.
I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah. Anytime we say big business, that's the end of the show.
That's the end of the show. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to give us more advice on how to, destroy art, please contact us on Instagram. Otherwise, bye.
Oh, yeah, bye.
Have a good one.
Sorry, fell asleep again.
Death in famous individuals and